Mexican beers are more than just bad Corona. Indio, originally called Cerveza Cuauhtémoc, hit the market in 1893. Nicknamed Indio for the product's label, the beer officially changed its name in 1905. The amber lager boasts almost 125 years of history, yet it is relatively unknown in many parts of the United States. Does it deserve a larger audience? Find out now on Two Dudes Reviews. What up, guys? Yeah, we have the Indio Mexican Cerveza, and we're gonna check this out. And I know when you're checking out Mexican beers, there's so many that just come out of the clear glass bottle, which is just like, sunlight's super bad for beer, man. Why are you doing that? Like Corona. It's like, as soon as I see that, it's just like, all right, the people making the beer just don't care. Obviously, if they're putting it into a clear bottle. So, all this beer talk's made the dog thirsty, apparently. So, all right, if you just look at that color for a second, that doesn't look like your average Mexican beer, and I'm not exactly sure where you can find this throughout the states. I know it's in pockets. In the Southwest you can find it. I think you can find it in Chicago, stuff like that. I don't know how widespread it is. But anyways, let's get into the taste, or the smell right off. You have kind of like an amber, it's like a mixture of an amber and a pilsner almost. You have a good amount of the wheat aroma, the barley aroma, the barley. And there's almost like a plum. There's almost like a little plum hints in there. It has the aroma of almost going towards a barley wine, but without the heavier alcohol content. The dog, man. Thirsty? And there's a little bit like a bread crust, almost. A little more refined from what, just like a barley or a wheat. But yeah, it smells almost like a subtle plum barley amber beer, basically. It smells interesting. I like it, especially compared to other Mexican beers, because I'm going to face it, 95% of the Mexican beers I've had are terrible. So this is a nice welcome change to that. Because I'm going to recommend it. And now let's get into the taste. That, almost like the not plum, but like the plum skin. I do think there's a little bit of that taste in here, so that did kind of follow through with the taste. And it is, even though it is kind of a lager, it is, as you can tell, it's a darker lager. It does have a bit of that like an Irish red almost, a little bit in there. Definitely barley. That bites your tongue a little bit. I'm not sure what the alcohol content is on this thing, but I'd be willing to guess it is higher than what your average Mexican beer is. I'll try to toss it in as a graphic. But with the barley flavor in there, you definitely get that. It's actually, it does taste nice. It doesn't taste just cheap, mass produced, which is for some reason most of the Mexican beers in the States are just cheap and mass produced. This doesn't have that. This tastes like a legitimate amber lager that you could get at your bar or whatever. It's almost there. I'm trying to. There's something there that I'm just not quite trying to decipher it from the other flavors. It's just kind of stuck in there, and you're just trying to pinpoint it. Maybe a little bit of apricot with the plum skin. It is definitely more of an amber kind of beer. It's actually a very enjoyable lager. I like it compared to what you're normally going to get from other lagers in general. It might not be as crisp as what you'd want on like a super hot day. Maybe it is kind of starting to go down that slope towards like a heavier beer. It's not there yet. You can still drink it whenever, but it is slightly heavier than what your average Mexican beer is going to be. But I like it. I think it's a nice beer. It's not like crazy different from some other kinds of just general beers, but when you compare it to just Mexican beers, I think it's pretty decent. So I'm gonna recommend it on taste when I'm comparing it to other Mexican beers. And now the next category is value for price, and I'm trying to think how much I paid for this. It does have all the. I'm gonna assume maybe you can get in most of the states because it's imported into New York and it's got all the recycling rates on the back of it, but it's not. I mean, I'm in Arizona, an hour away from Mexico, so I don't know if that probably doesn't matter too much since it's imported into New York. Price, it wasn't that bad. I think it was pretty similar to your average 6-pack. It might be a little bit more expensive than a Corona, but I would gladly pay that extra $1 or $2 for something that's a higher quality than Corona. I would take just about anything over Corona. But the value for price. It wasn't expensive by any means. I think I got the single for probably less than $2. So I'm gonna recommend it for value for price. Excuse me. Now, okay. Next is drinkability. How many of these can I drink? It is, a little heavier than your average Mexican beer. It's not like to the point where you couldn't drink one and ask for another one. Although, probably if it is hot out and you're outside at a bar patio, you probably could drink a couple of these in a row. To be honest, the first time I had this beer, I was actually in Mexico, and I was in Juarez, and I was at an outside patio, and I was eating, and I was looking over the beer menu. I'd never heard of this one before, so I'm like, all right, let's go for this. I was so blown away. It's like, wow, this isn't a piss poor beer. This is amazing. I didn't know that happened here. So, but yeah, long story short, drinkability. I could drink a couple of these, outside. It's not the best hot weather beer, but a legitimate beer. So I'm gonna recommend it for value price or drinkability. Already did value price. Now distinction. How distinct is it from other beers? You gotta look at it in two different ways. How distinct is it from other Mexican beers? At least the Mexican beers that are mass marketed in the United States. Yeah, that's it's way different than those beers. Way different. On the other hand, if you're just comparing them to normal, regular imports, maybe Canadian lager, stuff from Germany or Belgium, stuff like that, it's not a whole lot different from those. So it's kind of caught in the middle for distinction, you know. So because of that, I'm gonna give it a half. It's more distinct than your Mexican beers compared to, but when you're comparing it to other just general beers from other countries, it doesn't stand out a whole lot. So yeah, a half for that. And alright, last category is would I buy it again? This should be one of those things I might not regularly stock in my fridge. I probably have other beers throughout the year, depending on the season. But if I have somebody in town and we want to get a Mexican beer, or if it's Cinco de Mayo and I don't want just a really crappy beer to drink all day, or heck, if I'm popping into Mexico and I know a particular beer that's going to taste good, I'd go for this. So it'd be more of a kind of show somebody else, or I'm visiting kind of thing for me buying it again. So because of that, I'll give it a half over a half out of 1 for that. Anyways, but 5 out of 6. Not too shabby comparing it to other Mexican beers. If you get around to check this out, especially during Cinco de Mayo, whatever, pick it up. It's actually a decent beer, and I recommend it. So, alright, that is my review of Indio. If you've had it before, let me know. Write in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. And, you know, if you like these different kinds of reviews, rate, like, subscribe. That'd be fantastic. And we got a podcast, Two Dudes in a Six Pack. You can get that anywhere you get your podcasts. And yeah, that's about it. So for now, Grayson, the other dude Chris, take it easy.